So we have the two creators of this project here with us, and I guess we could just start off with like how the inception of this project started, and where it came from.
Sure. It kind of started out of another project originally. I've been messing around with my original project, Proof of Artwork, for almost 3 years now, before I had any idea what an NFT was. When Harry and I started dating, the first thing I ever, well, not the first, but one of the first things, I showed her a picture of it. That's how long ago it was. That kind of, it took off a little bit in the NFT world when I minted it for the first time. And then from there, we got into the generative space, saw more and more what was going on. And I saw a tweet one day from Simon DLR, who's really well known in the space. He kind of took it almost as a dare. He said something 100% solidity can only be done with SVG graphics. And I'm the kind, that was like a red rag to a tech nerd bull. And I just said to Harry, hold my beer. And 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I think, I came back with a tweet to Simon, and the rest is history of Brotchain.
Yeah, and I think as well, when you first sort of started writing the code, Aaron's the kind of person that thinks that good engineering and good code should speak for itself. And so in the past, he's been known for kind of when people he works with have asked for a user interface, he's been a bit confused that they can't just use the console and the error logs and all the computer logs. So we kind of decided, how can we take something which is technically cool and wrap it up in a way that would be interesting for people to interact with. I think I was really keen to have a piece or a collection where it wasn't just something that you would buy, think it looks cool, and then stick it in your wallet and forget about it, other than, occasionally checking the floor price. So I thought it would be really cool to build something a bit more interactive, and a way that we could sort of use it to build a community, which has worked really well. And kind of our Discord are phenomenal, and like we love talking to them. And I think part of that is we found a way to help people who, a lot of whom think that they're not creative at all, but to draw that creativity out of people. And, turns out everyone's really enjoyed it.
That is sick. So I'm looking at these pieces. If you haven't already checked it up at the top of the spaces, you can click through, and they look really intricate. And you were speaking about how they're interactive. Like, do you want to talk more about like what that means with this? Like, how are they interactive?
Yeah. So on our website, which is brotchain.art, we've got a color editor. And so that's kind of an interface where you don't have to own a piece. You can play around with the colors in the art. So actually, do you want to explain how you can do that in the Pixel?
Yeah, so you can think of it as like blockchain paint by numbers. The app, so every single thing that you see here is a Solidity contract. There's nothing outside the blockchain that develops these images. And what it does is it calculates numbers per pixel, and then you can go and set for number one, this is the color, number two, this is the color, and so on and so forth. But we made a few interfaces to make the coloring a bit easier. I'm colorblind, so it's quite funny that I should be the one putting this out there. And then you can experiment with any of the series like this, but then you can also commit it to the chain as well. And all you do is you go to OpenSea after that, you click update the metadata, it calls the contract, it says, what does this person's image look like right now? It maintains the provenance of who updated it, and it creates this like ongoing life of each piece.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, and shout out to one of the collectors, a guy called Jamie, he's created a Twitter account for his piece, and is planning on kind of charting how it's updating over time, which is an awesome idea that we hadn't even thought of.
Oh, that's sick. That's actually really cool and very different. I'm always very interested in a lot of these projects that like are doing something almost outside of the scope of what's being done. And I think that that's really cool that you have all these like added layers to what you can do with this NFT like right now. So, and like you said, so many people are coming up with different ways to showcase that. And these are things that you haven't also even thought about, but are being added as the community is growing.
100%. Like, as Harry said, I wanted it to be all about the tech, but that's just not enough at the end of the day. It's we cover both ends of the spectrum now.
So when you first started, did you like how did you enter into like the community aspect of like creating that community around Brotchain, or did it just like naturally all of a sudden come and you're like, wait, how did this happen?
Yes.
Or like what were the steps of
I
that?
think I tweeted in response to Simon's tweet. Oh, I can see Simon's brother in here. Hi, Neil. I tweeted in response to that. We put out that first thread that you shared, and just kind of got a life of its own. Some big name people picked up on it at some point because of the technical aspects, and then the community grew and grew and grew around that.
And I think possibly one of the other things that impacted us, we were really keen. So actually, we were ready from a kind of the initial contract point, or almost ready a while ago. But I think Aaron had pushed OpenSea to past the point that anyone thought that anyone would try and use it, and uncovered a bug which we were waiting for a little while to figure out a fix. And so we used that time to think about what we wanted to come of this project, and something that we were keen to trial is how could we find a way for anyone to be able to participate. So for us, one of the worst things about this world at the moment is the fact that when you have popular drops, the people who get the pieces are the people who bribe the miners the most, and people who tip the miners the most. And anyone that's trying, possibly even with money that's a lot to them, and if they didn't tip quite high enough, that's gone and that's lost. And we wanted to see if we could find a way to counteract that. And so we ran an off-chain registration process. And what we've learned since then is that a lot of people told their friends or told their family, if you want to get into NFTs, this is the one to try for because you don't lose anything trying. And it was also priced, I think, a lot less than some other generative projects recently. And so as a result, I think we've had a huge number of people coming into the community. We did a load of checks on wallets because we were checking for bots because we were terrified that they'd gone so quickly, it must have been botted. And a huge number of empty wallets. So we got in touch with people to check, what's their background. And turns out loads of people, it was their first ever NFT, just because, they'd been told this was the one to try for. So I think that probably also brought attention to us that we might not have had otherwise.
Amazing. I'm curious on like, as this journey has kind of like progressed, like stuff that you've learned along the way, or that you may have thought to try differently if you had anything insight like that.
Yeah, don't run the pre-registration how we did. There's no way I do. It was, we believe, very successful, but it was a lot of hard manual work to get that done.
Really stressful. It was a really rough day.
We ran Google Analytics at the time to get an idea of how many people there were, and there were about 4,500 people for 200 spots. At first, we thought there were bots, but just looking through the Google Analytics, there's no way bots would be reporting themselves like that. So that's about unfortunately, a 1 in 200 chance of getting a bot in the pre-reg. But we did everything we could to make sure it was fair, and that was just not doing it like that next time. Not that we don't want to make it fair. I'm not doing it manually next time.
Got it. Well, I want to welcome Dan to the stage. I don't know, it keeps on coming in and out, so hopefully you're here. But I know he wanted to be around for this. So, hey, Dan.
Hey, thank you. I just had some technical difficulties getting spaces figured out, but I think I'm up to speed now. Aaron, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about why fractals are interesting. Like why Mandelbrot instead of some other generative art project?
I think fractals were like the original generative art. They've been going back. I think the first time a Mandelbrot was Metelsky, and I forget the other person's name, did it about 50 years ago as ASCII art. It's been around for a very long time. So it was kind of an OG generative project, but a lot of people called us out. They said, that's easy. But we thought, no, not if we do it 100% in a contract. And that's where the real challenge came in. So it was, for me, this was about what's the hardest thing I can possibly do, and taking smart contracts that only allow whole number integers, and not just that, like implementing decimal places and complex numbers all inside. That was just like, oh, this is great. This is the hardest thing I can think of doing right now. That's why I'm going to do it.
So can you talk about what the difference between on-chain and in-chain means to you?
So we coined the phrase in-chain for this, basically because we wanted a way of saying, not saying, of just kind of explaining what we were doing that was a bit different. On-chain can mean a lot of different things, from you simply archive your code on-chain, which is what I did in my first project, all the way through to it's generated by the contract but needs external renderers. And it's this like progression of reducing externalities. So Def Beef reduced externalities by having only a C compiler needed. Soul Seedlings by Simon Divardump reduced externalities by doing as much internally as possible, only needing SVG. Autoglyphs was just ASCII. And I thought, okay, how can we go even further and further than that and define what color every pixel should be colored? And that was as far inside the contract, hence in-chain, instead of on-chain. And that's really what it is. It's about trying to push the boundaries.
That is detailed, but very, very interesting and important to like kind of differentiate like why this project is so unique.
I love, Aaron, I love your whole philosophy of just like pushing for the impossible, trying to do this like very complicated difficulty, like high level of difficulty as part of the art. I think that's a really kind of interesting distinction between your project and a lot of projects, that like the complexity is part of what makes this art so cool. And I appreciate you spending time with us to explain a lot of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For me, it's the medium. Some people are extremely good with watercolors. I can't paint a stick. I couldn't draw a stick figure.
The medium is the message. Is that Marshall McLuhan? Yeah. But I think that's very dope. So I'm interested in like, or for the audience of kind of anything that you'd want to share that maybe people don't know necessarily, or don't like connect with just yet because they may not understand. If there's anything that about the project that you'd like to share.
Not anything that we can think of, but I suspect that people listening might be better at telling us what we've not already shared and what we've not already talked about.
Yeah, we can totally bring some people up if that's, yeah, I don't know if like Dan, you have any specific questions that you want to ask, because I know you're interested. But I can start bringing people up on stage because we have a few people that want to come up on stage.
I'd love to quickly add that this is a historic event because I believe this is Dan's first Spaces, at least first Spaces yes. with us. He's a hard guy to get, so very, very cool. Great cosign here that Dan is here.
Yeah, it's a total moment. Dan is not busy.
I think we also owe Dan for a lot of this. I mean, Aaron's first project, I think, happened in part because Dan helped. I think it was when you guys first launched your iframe functionality, and the two of them kind of nerded out on how to get it working. And we literally just, none of this would have happened without Dan.
I was lucky enough to be at an event where Devin, the OpenSea founder, was talking. I was fortunate enough to get to put my hand up and ask a question about this weird project I had. He's like, oh, you can use iframes. And then I guessed his email address and he said, speak to this Dan dude. And so everything went from there. So thank you, Dan.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's truly a privilege. Yeah. And, for those who have been following along, like this has been, like this innovation doesn't come for free, like there have been hiccups, and Aaron has been super patient with OpenSea as we sort of expand the range of what's possible. But I remember it vividly, and like I'm humble brag here, but like maybe not humble, even just a straight up brag. Like as soon as Aaron contacted me, I was like, okay, this is a guy who's going to move the needle. Like here is a creator who utterly gets it from the start, coming in from the outside with interesting ideas and interesting content, and just like is going to be a powerhouse. So it was an easy slam dunk for me to say, like, here, this is somebody that we should absolutely support, and will help OpenSea become a better platform by pushing us to be better. So yeah, Aaron and I hit it off right away. We've been working together on this stuff over the past, I guess it's a few months now. And the whole process has just been sensational. So in addition to being an incredibly gifted artist, I want to give a shout out to Aaron for just being excellent to work with.
Thank you. And I feel the same about you.
That's amazing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, or Alexander, do you want to go? I know.
I was just going to say, I'm ready for you guys to start your podcast. I'd listen. This is great.
I know. Right? Try and get Dan to speak on it, right? Maybe.
We'll see. I'm getting that Dan doesn't want to do that.
Yeah,
Sorry, Dan.
probably not. Okay, so I'm going to bring some people up, and just for fair warning, please, when you come up on stage, please, if you have questions that are directed to the creators and the project, that'd be great. And you can start requesting, and we'll start bringing you up. Sometimes Twitter Spaces has so many technical issues, and we already know this. So after you're done speaking, I'll put you back in the audience just so that we can get people up on stage. Yeah, so let's just do that. Hey, Gabriel. Gallery. Nope, Gallery de Thomas. Did I get that right? Yeah, I did. How are you? Is anyone else hearing?
I see Yorn on stage. I don't see anyone else yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, guys.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing?
Hi, Yorn.
I just want to keep the love fest going here. I found these guys through Aaron's first project, Proof of Artwork, which I consider myself lucky as it relates to just finding something that I just thought was really, really cool, and didn't really know too much about the project at the time other than just sort of buying what I liked, which I think sometimes can work out. And in this case, it did. But certainly to the extent that folks haven't looked at that yet, in addition to Brotchain, you got to check out Proof of Artwork. Just, note, you got to zoom in. That's the only piece of advice I've got for you there. But anyway, I've been sort of following them since, been part of Brotchain. And I just had a quick question for you around the decision-making process you guys had, because so much of this recent stuff is about one-of-ones, right? So unique one-of-one things. And you guys sort of went against that. And I really think it worked out for a host of reasons so far. And I just sort of want to understand why you did that. And also why you're allowing people to, have to share their own designs with others and not making it unique to each person, which I also think is kind of different, and would love to hear your thoughts. Last thing, if you guys are ever in the New York area, let me know and I'll buy you dinner.
We'd love that.
We'd love that.
Cool.
I've spoken to Yorn on Twitter for a very long time, so it's really cool to hear your voice.
Likewise.
Yeah, so the question on a one-of-one project, we have nothing against one-of-one projects. In fact, I think there's a high likelihood that we might try some in the future. But I think for this one, we wanted to cast a broad net. We wanted to be inclusive. We wanted pieces that lots of people could enjoy. Also, there's the fact that it cost us, I think, just under 12 ETH with good gas to deploy this contract, which went from a purely economic perspective. Taking the gamble on doing it of just one piece could have ended really badly for us. And I think that was partly why then we decided that we wanted to allow people to be able to put their own colors on it, because we thought we couldn't have 512 different designs, because each design cost about 2 ETH or a little under that to put out there for the storage. So it was, well, how can we have multiple pieces off the same bit of Solidity code that's out there without it being repetitive and boring. And I think we started playing around with how we could color them ourselves and realized that actually there was so much that could be done. There was so much variety that could be achieved. Why not put this in the hands of other people? And I think we also took inspiration from a couple of other projects. There's The Coin by Taker's Theorem, which has something similar, which is very, very cool, where you can update your piece with your own CSS, and the variety of things that people managed to achieve with that was so cool that we thought, we would love to do something like that.
I think you also asked why allow people to do the same thing. That was purely the same color palette. That was purely a technical limitation. You can always change a color palette by 1 bit, and it would, to do a check for palettes being too similar would just end up costing the collectors too much in gas.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, at least when you know you're in New York, you have dinner plans. Thanks, Jorn, for
Thanks,
coming
guys.
up. And all right. I think. Oh wait, we had some people on stage, and then they're not on stage. So I'm going to restate. When you come up on stage, if you are directing your questions to the team, that would be great. So yeah, that's just fair warning so that you know. Okay, so I'm gonna bring some more people up on stage. All right. Wet wheat?
Yo.
Assume that's
We are
hey.
live.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how
Hi.
are you? I just want to say that the work that I've seen is amazing, and I would love to try to collaborate with what you're doing. I do a lot of artwork, but I'm new to the NFT world and OpenSea. I just recently sold something on OpenSea for the first time, so I was happy about that. But this new world of NFTs is something that's special, and I'm happy to be there.
Cool. Well, we've got a really long list of ideas for future projects, but most of the area where we want to innovate is around the smart contracts themselves. So ways for people to interact with them or with other collectors through them, or for contracts to change and adapt based on other external influences. But what I don't think, we find it hilarious that we're now considered artists, because we don't consider ourselves artists creatively. I'm a musician, and Aaron writes code. So I think for a lot of these projects, we would be looking to partner with people. So, whether that's you or there's someone else, we are open to people pitching us with ideas for cool, specifically generative projects, where there could be fun things to be done. Because, aesthetically, there are people who are going to smash it a lot more than we would. But we can do the cool stuff on the back end.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
come along to the Discord.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely appreciate your time. And I'm with an artist group called Three the Art Way, which is my mother, my brother, and myself. So if you ever have a chance to look on 3theartway.com, feel free to see what we have in store, and we can really do some great collaborations.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming up on
Thank you
stage.
for allowing me. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. I'm curious. You did mention that you want to do stuff along the line. I don't know if there's anything that you'd want to share that potentially are ideas for like the next project, or like the level up, or anything like that.
Well, I like if you can see my Abby.
Oh,
Um,
wait. I'm sorry. That question is directed to
oh, I'm sorry.
Brotchain.
Okay.
No, it's okay. It's
All right.
okay.
I'll mute myself. Sorry.
So there is a grand finale for Proof of Artwork that has been planned since the very beginning, but never admitted to anyone. But it will actually happen. When Harry alluded to potential one-on-ones, that's one of ones. That's what that will be. Anyone out there who thinks you've had your mind blown so far, just wait for this. I'm setting the bar high, but I think I can meet that. Another thing that I'm learning to do is, well, not learning to do, I'm collaborating with an old friend who's a physicist and also a generative artist. And we are trying to push the boundaries even further of what we can do in-chain art, in-chain or on-chain. we learned a lot through Brotchain and want to try and pass that on to other people by sharing the maths and the computing. And it's just about pushing boundaries at this point. He was the artist in that case. And I'm just saying, okay, how do we take the maths that you used and do it in, for the nerds out there, it's all in assembly code. This is like moving bits around in a computer. And how do we achieve that with other artists?
Aaron, speaking of the low-level work and collaboration, sort of segueing out of the last 2 points, I saw some of the super low-level code that you wrote, and I was wondering, like, how you would feel about other people using it. Like, now that you've shipped this code, verified the contracts on Etherscan, it's out there. If you see other creators using the code that you wrote to build projects that are sort of in this vein, is that something that you feel is going to be like, is that stepping on your toes, or is that something that you're going to be psyched about?
I'd be really happy about it. What we did at first, we released the artworks under Creative Commons. Initially, we verified the contracts, but didn't release them in an open source license. But now that it's established, it was really just like those first few days. I'm going to be moving them over to an MIT license, which means that someone can come and do this. I'd be really excited. The bitmap encoder contract is out there. It's got all its functions are publicly accessible. So if somebody wants to do in-chain bitmaps, you just need to give it a palette and the pixels from now on. And we kind of want to see how far we can push this. I'm going down other routes, seeing what I can do. How can you bring trig and calculus in-chain as well now?
I think the one thing that we would be quite keen on, so I don't know if people know, but we originally committed to giving 50% of all the minting proceeds to charity and good causes. I think we might be giving a little more, but we need to kind of run some numbers before we commit. While there's no way that we can force people, if it's an MIT license, to do that, it would be amazing if other artists, whether they're inspired by this or directly using bits of the code, to also consider using their platform and what they're doing to sort of do good in the world as well. I think that's something that's really important to both of us.
Amazing. Okay, we got a few more people up on stage that seem very intrigued to ask you a question or comment. Orchid Mouth, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you guys so much for this today. I just had a question regarding, so proof of artwork is amazing. How you can, I've never seen something like it where you can zoom in, like while viewing the image on OpenSea. And Brotchain, I know when you click on it, it's a smaller image, and that must just be because of the way it's done with the bitmap and everything. But I was wondering if there was a function on the website that you guys were thinking of doing where you can view these in like 4K or something, and you'd be able to zoom into them as well, and it would like update if someone changed the artwork, then you can see a larger version of that as well. Or if there's any kind of like ways in which you see these like being displayed in the metaverse.
So when you talk about proof of artwork and Brotchain, they're kind of flip sides of the same coin. Proof of artwork is what you can do if you've got. Oh, can you mute yourself? Thank you. If you have like unlimited compute resources, but you just need to, well, not unlimited, but you're constrained by like people waiting for that thing to render. It's based on like geospatial technology that I learned from Google Maps software. If you flip it around, then you get Brotchain. Is what happens when you limit it as far as possible, as far as compute is concerned. The whether or not we go and offer the zooms and everything, there are open source free Mandelbrot renderers everywhere. You can download them, you can see them online. There's this notion called demo scene of like, what is the most that you can squeeze out of the compute? That's what we were aiming for. In time, we can look at adding the ability to have zooms on people's particular palettes. The contract does actually allow you to create a larger pixelated version with kind of like a CryptoPunk. You see the pixels. I just haven't plugged that in yet to the metadata. So yes, it is possible. whether or not we want to do it, we kind of need to prioritize. People have a lot of feature requests and ideas that we need to just see what's most important, and that's like what Harry specializes in.
Cool. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. Thanks.
Yeah, I hope that answered all your questions. I'm going to move you back to the audience, and we'll go on to the next person, which I believe was Foti. Hi, Foti.
Hi, hey Harry and Aaron.
Hi,
we love
Discord.
your dog.
Thank you. I know I miss him. Fortunately, he's not with me anymore, but he's with my old roommate that lives in. He moved, but I still see him here and there. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, Aaron, that video that you posted of that 3D modeling of the Mandelbrot. I was wondering if that was something that you would possibly be thinking of doing. I don't know if it's possible in the style that you do things. I have no idea about this coding thing, so I'm not sure if that's a far-fetched question to ask. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, but like I said, I don't know if you're uh, willing to try something within like the animation realm and the 3D modeling realm for your next project, possibly in the future.
I think we'll probably move on from fractals now. So the one that Foji was talking about is like my single favorite off-chain Mandelbrot rendering by a YouTube channel called Maths Town. It's just mind-blowing what is possible there. And I think if anyone really wants to see the best off-chain possible, search for that. We'll see if we can post it later. Will we move into animations and rendering? Probably, and 3D rendering? Probably not. It's not an area in which I specialize, but it's also not my kind of artistic thesis is in pushing technological boundaries. So if I was going to render something in 3D, it wouldn't be about taking existing software. It would be about what kind of interesting algorithms can I write to change something in that respect.
I'd say I think that doesn't necessarily mean that we wouldn't want to do anything that has a kind of animated or a 3D component to it. Just that probably wouldn't be either of us contributing that part of the art. So as part of a collaboration, again, anyone got any really cool ideas? We'll be selective, only the ones that are really difficult and really, really cool. But yeah, we'd be really open to them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And I just wanted to thank you guys again for for everything that you guys are doing. You guys changed a lot of people's lives during your minting process, and it's an awesome thing to see. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
It's really good, by the way. Like we've been scrolling down, and there's a lot of names that we recognize on here from people in our Discord. So yeah, it's really, really cool to hear from you.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll move on to the next person, which is Fractal Dimensions. How you doing today?
Hi, everybody. And yeah, so we are also working with Fractal. So, I guess we could say we are cousins. So it's finally nice to meet you here.
Hi.
It's nice to meet you.
Good to speak to you.
All right. So thanks a lot for your work. I think your project is very interesting. I mean, of course, I also like our project, but, like people are free to choose whatever they prefer. I mean, our stuff is not on chain, not completely at least. While, yeah, I really appreciate from your project that you are doing it on chain. I mean, of course, it's kind of a trade-off, right? So we decide to be off chain so that our images can be higher definition. We can render whatever we want off chain, and we can take advantage of parallel calculations, etc. So my question for you here is about this. So, I feel like it's cool that you're doing these calculations off chain, but what are your thoughts about the environmental impact that this could potentially have? Because, like these heavy calculations, especially if you are planning to push it even further, I mean, they take a lot of computational power, right, on the blockchain. So what is your view on that?
That's actually something I looked at very extensively before minting. So in my first project, Proof of Artwork, which actually uses the same mathematical algorithm as a Mandelbrot, you need to mine the seeds for Proof of Artwork. And so I was worried about the environmental impact, and I did a calculation. I'm just trying to find it. It was the equivalent of, it was 31 kilowatt hours, which was about half an hour charge of an electric vehicle, was the first project. The second project, we were also worried about it now. So what we wanted to do to ensure that it wasn't having any kind of massive impact environmentally, the environmental impact that you get from blockchain mining comes from the fact that you have hundreds or thousands of miners all doing the same thing in parallel in order to race each other. And that's why you have these problems. You have everybody except for the miner who mines the block wastes all of their energy that they use there. So what we did was a compute, replay, and verify strategy, which you can see inside our contracts how it works, which means that it only required one single node, which I ran, to be able to do this. So there wasn't actually any environmental impact from doing it in chain by doing it this way. And it also it reduced gas costs. It meant that it was cheaper for people who wanted to buy. That's why we could offer a mint price that was accessible to so many people and didn't actually have any impact in the long run as a result.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying as well, the sort of nearly 12 ETH of deployment cost, that's almost all in storage rather than in transaction. So it's not that we were kind of running so many transactions that it took all of that in gas. That was from storage.
Yeah, the Ethereum blockchain is expensive if you want to if you want permanent storage, and that's what we had to pay for there.
Okay, I
Very,
see.
very
And
interesting.
would it be possible to provide a bit more details on the fact that, I mean, you're relying on your own node? I didn't get this, sorry.
Yeah, if you just have a look inside the contract, we'll post it on Twitter.
Yeah, and also it was reliant on the node to create it and deploy it, not that it is now reliant on that one node. So it's very much on the blockchain. It's out there. You know, we could shut down every server that we own or interact with, and it's not going to impact anyone's art.
Yeah, I knew this question would be in there, so I was very thorough in the documentation of the contract, how we do all of this.
All right, so I mean, thanks for the information, and I really appreciate that. I mean, you actually thought about this because, yeah, I believe everybody should do this. It's very important. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also
Bye.
on the environmental thing, I mean, I sort of eat very little meat, and I do a lot of things in my day-to-day life because I think that we should all be taking sort of what we're doing to the environment quite seriously. And so one of the charities, or we're hoping that at least a large portion of what we put towards charity will go towards organizations who are helping find sustainable ways for people to adapt, particularly with new technologies, which can kind of counteract the bad things that we're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a very cool idea, and we are planning to do the same with our charity proceedings. Yeah, so thanks again, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up and asking. I think that was important, and thanks for the share because a lot of people may not know about this. So we have one more person up on stage, and then we'll kind of wrap it up because I know everyone's busy and needs to do some stuff. And also, just if anyone had questions that they weren't able to ask, you can reach out to them on Twitter and I believe Discord. Is that correct?
Yes, there is so the old Discord links we had to get rid of because the inflow of people to our Discord channel on pre-registration day was insane. But the latest link on our Twitter should be working. If it's not, DM us and let us know. It's open to everyone as long as you are kind and respectful to everyone else. Then you're very, very welcome.
We like kind and we like respectful. So yes, if you want to get questions out that you didn't get to today, definitely follow them and stay up to date. But we have one more person, I believe is Karthik. Do you have a question towards the team and this project? If you do, please share.
Yeah, thanks once again for letting me sit in on this. It's more of a just question for the whole team. I'm actually an artist that does music and visuals, so I've been uploading all my stuff on Audius. I have 300 tracks on like Spotify and all the other platforms, and then I actually, when I release the tracks, I release visuals with it and make them NFTs on OpenSea. So I was kind of wondering, have y'all ever thought about some way connecting with Audius or a crypto platform like that so that these music artists can be discovered on OpenSea along with the whole crypto community that's kind of embracing this whole movement?
I think we got to save that question for another time, Karthik. Right now, we're talking about the Brotchain specific team and their project, but happy to discuss in a future room kind of how OpenSea is working with musicians and audio.
All right, cool. I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. So I guess that kind of brings us towards the end of this, but I did want to give anyone, Dan, Alexander, Brotchain, any last minute shares that you guys want to go ahead with, or yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to say some just closing here. I think it's all been said in this room just how interesting this project is, how smart this team is. I love the idea of making the impossible kind of realized in here. But ultimately, I just want to say a big thanks to the Brotchain duo here. You guys have been nothing but like fantastic to work with. To Dan's point, just like jumps out how talented and thoughtful and smart you guys are, and really excited to see what you guys do next. And we'd love to have you back on OpenSea because you guys are just a joy to work with. I highly encourage everyone in this room listening to join their Discord. It's lively, it's interesting, and they're just doing some of the coolest stuff in the space right now.
Thank you very much. And I also want to say a big shout out to everyone at OpenSea. I mean, the massive explosion that you guys have managed to cope with in volume and demand, the way that the fact that your site is online ever is, something of a miracle. And I think you're doing an awesome job and like building, huge number of communities around it. So, thanks to you guys.
Means a lot. We're trying really hard. There's some of our engineers in the audience right now. I'm sure they very much appreciate the kind words as well.
You are you're having a tough time of it, but you are doing so well keeping things going, and we really appreciate it, and know a lot of other people do too.
Thank you, guys.
Dan, any last minute remarks?
Nope.
All right, cool. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. Dad's like, nope. We love you, Dan. It's all good. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. This was a really cool conversation. I feel like a lot of people learned a lot. And also, if you have not tapped into this project yet, then you got to understand a bit more. And if you do want to follow up, you can follow them and then click through their work on OpenSea, see what's going on, follow their Discord, as Alexander said. And yeah, thanks so much for such an amazing conversation. You two are amazing and such a pleasure to talk to. So thanks for allowing us to do this with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This has been really great. We really appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Everyone, I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Don't work too hard, self-care, but get work done. And yeah, have a great one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.